Hello, awesomeness creators. It's Nina Kovner with Passion Squared with this week's episode of Q and Awesome. This week, I am answering a question, actually a series of questions that I actually get usually once or twice a week. And that is about why am I so passionate about self-care? And why do I talk so much about making sure that we take care of ourselves as leaders and taking time off? And since it's a holiday weekend, I thought it was a good time to answer this question. So, why? Well, a couple reasons. One is personally, my personal story as a recovering workaholic is that I know it doesn't work long term. Long term. It may work now, but typically what I see is that it eventually catches up with us and we burn out, or in my case, have a total nervous breakdown. So no need to get to that point because we know it's not sustainable. Working 7 days a week, working 18 hours a day. And so I'm passionate about it because I've been through it and I've seen where it can take us and not in a good way, or take me not in a good way. Also working with leaders, I find that there's so much stress and so much burnout and so much anxiety. And so much of that comes from being completely overloaded and overprogrammed because owning a business is super stressful. And so somehow at some point, and I've talked about this before, many of us got the idea that it was heroic and awesome to be working so hard and to have no days off and hustle and all that stuff. But in fact, what happens is we get so burnt out that in my case, I know I get irritable, and I'm typically not that irritable. I get really fussy. I eat more, which is food's already an issue for me, so I eat more, stress. My anxiety goes through the roof, and I talk about that I suffer from anxiety and panic disorder, and I've learned how to treat it naturally. So when all these little signs are coming up, I don't sleep well, all those things that come up, I'm like, okay, red flag, I've overprogrammed myself. And so I need to take a step back. And the reason that it becomes so important is because I've made commitments, just as you've made commitments, to show up for my team, to show up for my clients, to show up for my family, my animals, my world, my community, whatever. And we cannot show up when we're depleted, physically depleted, emotionally depleted, mentally depleted. And so the best way to create awesome is to learn what your rhythm is. And I was having this conversation last week with somebody, and they were talking about, I'm really still looking for balance. Well, look, if you're like grown and you haven't found it, you're not going to find it. I don't believe in balance. I think it's an unrealistic expectation set upon us that we're constantly seeking and then feel guilty when we feel we're not in balance. So I just think that's extra stress and guilt we don't need. I believe in rhythm, and we all have different rhythms. And it's really learning to identify your rhythm. And it may be about the hours that you keep, or it may be about the amount of commitments that you keep, or it could be several different factors. But really becoming so self-aware, and it takes time. But if we want it bad enough, we'll pay attention, we'll slow down enough to listen to the signs. And again, we're all different. So I would say that finding your rhythm is probably the best advice I could give. And just let go of that myth called balance. It's just not real. So I'm passionate about self-care because I'm passionate about helping the people that I love by empowering them, empowering their businesses. And the best way to do that is when we're present, when we're rested, when we're whole. But again, only you can define what that means to you. Rested to me may be totally different than rested to you. So find your rhythm. Know that the most heroic thing and the most awesome thing you could do is take care of yourself first. And then you get to create awesome with everyone around you. And that's really what it's about. That it's just not cool to be burnt out. So yeah, Great question. I get it all the time, and that's why I talk about it all the time. Because still, I think we just have this programming in our mind that it's really cool to be super busy, and it's really cool to say I had an 18-hour day. No, it's not cool. What's cool is when you're awesome, and you're awesome when you find your rhythm. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for all the questions. You can email me at awesome@passionsquared.net. And ask me anything, and I may answer it on the show. You can tweet me at PassionSquared2, hashtag Q and Awesome, and ask me anything. I love you guys. Have an awesome day. Mwah. Bye.